Hey everyone, it's Dr. Dykes. I want to take a quick moment to talk with you about using AI responsibly. AI might be new to you, and it might be intimidating, or it might be second nature to you. No matter how you've been using it, or whether you want to start using it, the key is to make sure that you're using it responsibly. It's not that we can't use AI in our coursework, we just have to use it responsibly. When in doubt, always think of AI as a learning assistant and not as an author. So generative AI is now part of academic, professional, and healthcare environments. So our goal is not to ignore it or pretend like it doesn't exist. Instead, our goal is to understand how to use it honestly, thoughtfully, and within appropriate academic boundaries. AI can be helpful when you're brainstorming, organizing ideas, reviewing clarity, or even polishing a final draft. However, it's important to understand that AI cannot replace your own thinking, your own writing, your own clinical reasoning, and your own scholarly voice. You are responsible for your submitted work. So as we move through this presentation, I want you to hear this as supportive guidance. You may use AI as a learning assistant when it is allowed and when it is appropriate, but you must remain fully responsible for the accuracy, originality, and integrity of everything that you submit in your name. Every course has an AI statement in the course guidelines. Please make sure you refer to those course guidelines to see exactly what is and what is not allowed in that course. And when in doubt, always reach out to your faculty to see what is allowed and what is not allowed if you don't understand what the AI policy in that course guidelines says. So why is it important for us to have this conversation? It matters because AI itself is not automatically good or bad. What matters is how it's used. For example, a student who uses AI to brainstorm possible topics and then independently researches, drafts, and supports their assignment is using AI as a learning aid. On the other hand, a student who asks AI to write a discussion post, paper, or presentation, and then submits that work as their own has crossed an academic integrity boundary. Responsible use will strengthen your learning process. When you misuse it, you bypass that learning process. In nursing education, our goal is not to simply complete an assignment. The deeper goal is to develop critical thinking, clinical reasoning, ethical judgment, and professional communication skills that you're going to use in your own practice. And remember that when we misuse AI, it's also considered academic dishonesty. And that means that you are subject to academic integrity penalties, anywhere from possibly failing the assignment to failing the course or even being dismissed from the program. It may seem like it's something very confusing, but in reality, the core rule is very simple. AI can support your work, but it cannot replace you. So again, you may use it to help plan something, to organize your ideas, to revise your ideas, even clarify things. These are supportive uses. However, remember that AI should not do the thinking. It should not do the writing. Definitely not the analysis or the synthesis for you. Again, your final work must reflect your own understanding. I mentioned a couple of ways AI should be used, and I mentioned that using it improperly can result in academic dishonesty. So how do we avoid academic dishonesty? These are ways that AI should not be used. Don't ask AI to write all or part of a discussion, a paper, a presentation, or an assignment. Do not submit AI-generated text as your own, even if you edit it or paraphrase it afterwards. Editing AI-generated material does not automatically make it your student work. The same rule applies to presentations and discussion posts. You've got to create the final content. Be very careful with the sources that you get from AI. AI can invent references, can mix up author names, can create inaccurate article titles, even provide you links that do not lead to the claimed source. We call these hallucinated references. And it sounds kind of crazy when we use the term hallucinated, but when you submit a paper to us, we're going to ask you to provide a URL, a DOI, or a hyperlink, something that we can click on that will take us directly to your source. It must take us to the actual article, not the article abstract. It must take us to the actual web page. So for example, if you use the Joint Commission website, you must take us to the exact page that you used. This sounds kind of like overkill, but I'll be honest with you. In an example, one time I was grading a student's work and I was clicking on the link, and two of the links didn't go anywhere. They said DOI cannot be found. One link actually went to a chicken pot pie recipe. Sounds funny. While the recipe was actually wonderful, I did make it, it let me know that there was no way that this student used this link to go to the source, which means if they didn't go to that source, how did they get the information in their paper? Those are key indicators that a student has been using AI to write their papers. So when you submit an unverified source, it can create both an academic integrity concern and a scholarly credibility concern. So we are absolutely checking those sources to make sure that we can get to them, because if we can't get to them, we question how you got to them. So we saw this picture a little earlier, but let's refer back to it now that we've given some more information. Use this picture as a decision point. The best question is not just, can I use AI? The better question is, am I using AI in a way that supports learning, honesty, and my own thinking? On the yes side, AI is going to help you ask better questions, brainstorm ideas, clarify concepts, organize your information, or even improve a draft. Okay. On that no side, AI should not be used as that shortcut to avoid thinking. It should not be used for your writing or your analysis or verification. So before you use AI, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me to learn more deeply, or am I asking it to do the work that I'm responsible for doing myself? This is a very good picture just to kind of keep in your back pocket. Keep it, where you can kind of look at it and say, am I really going on this yes side, or am I really kind of leaning more towards the no side? I mentioned that one risk with AI is something called hallucinated references. Those references that look real but are not reliable. So you might see a citation that looks really good. Authors, dates, journal titles, everything's all set up for you, even in APA format. But we have to remember that generative AI will predict text. It doesn't automatically verify the scholarly sources. It's designed to produce polished and plausible language, but that means it may also invent an article title. It could attach the wrong year to a real article. It could combine one author's name with another article, or even give you a DOI that does not work. So remember, a reference that looks correct in APA format is not proof that the source exists. When we see a hallucinated reference, not only does it weaken the credibility of your assignment, it can be treated as an academic integrity issue because you're the one responsible for every source that you submit. I know it sounds scary when we say we're going to be clicking on all of your sources to make sure that they exist, but it's very simple. As far as avoiding hallucinated sources, just use a clear verification process. It's not a problem if you ask ChatGPT or Copilot to find you resources on your topic. If AI suggests a source, treat it as a starting point. First, locate the source. Click on the link that it gives you. Does it take you to that source? Go to the university library. Go to the journal website. Make sure you're going to the actual article page. Make sure you see it, the whole article, not just the abstract. Okay. Next, make sure you check every citation element carefully. If it's giving you a citation, say in ChatGPT or Copilot, check the authors, check the year, check the article title, the journal title, the volume, issue, page range, DOI, URL, everything. Make sure it's correct, because even though you might click on it and the title matches, don't automatically assume the rest of it's there. It might be that it's giving you a title and ChatGPT telling you it's from 2026, and you go to the actual article and it might be from 2012. Make sure everything matches. When you copy that DOI or that hyperlink and you put it into your paper, one of the last things we recommend that you do is to click on that DOI URL or hyperlink right before you turn in your paper and make sure it leads you directly to that original article, the report, or even the web page. Okay. Finally, the last thing you want to do is read through the sources to make sure that they confirm that they're actually supporting the point that you're making. Even if you use a real source, it can be used incorrectly if it doesn't support your claim. With all of the information that's out there and all of the different ways to use AI, the one thing we want to remind you that as the student, you're the one ultimately responsible for every word, every fact, source, and conclusion you put in your assignment. So it's really important that you understand that accuracy means checking your facts, your links, your calculations, and your source claims instead of simply trusting what AI is putting out there for you. Originality means that your work has got to reflect your own organization, reasoning, synthesis, and scholarly voice. And integrity means being honest about the work you submit and how the sources are used. This matters deeply in nursing because remember, we are one of the highest ranked professions, and we have been the highest ranked profession when it comes to honesty and integrity. So we expect nothing less of our students as you move on to being advanced practice nurses. The habits you build in your academic work will help shape the habits you bring into that clinical and even possibly the educational setting, depending on where your MSN role will take you. We all like having an assistant to help us do our work. So think of AI again as your learning assistant. You might begin by asking AI to help you form a clearer question or to explore possible directions. For example, maybe I'm in my research course and I'm interested in how GLP-1s work in a microdosing format versus a single weekly dose. It's not wrong to go into ChatGPT and say, listen, can you find me some sources that talk about standard dosing versus microdosing? Okay, it's going to give me some output, but I'm going to evaluate that output carefully and decide what's useful, accurate, and appropriate. I might even ask it to find sources that are within the last 5 years or peer or scholarly reviewed. I can do all of that. It's kind of like a glorified Google search, but my responsibility is to click on every single source, go to that source, conduct my own research in these credible sources, read those readings, read those course materials, and write my own assignment in my own professional voice. So that is your responsibility as well. This is going to help protect your learning while still allowing AI to support you. Remember that the strongest work that you do comes from your own thinking and from evidence that's credible. Keep this checklist in your back pocket. This is something you want to think about before you submit any assignment. This should be your final pause. Ask yourself, did I write the final content myself? Does the work reflect my own synthesis and scholarly voice? Did I verify every fact, source, DOI, hyperlink, and URL? Do all of my in-text citations match the reference list? And is every reference that I cite actually in the assignment? Okay, you do want to make sure that you don't have any extra citations in the paper that are not in the reference list, and you don't want extra references that are not in the paper. They need to match. Could I explain the content if my faculty asked me about it? In other words, if I reached out to you and said, hey, I have a question about your paper, could you answer that? Meaning, was that really your learning that you put in the paper? If you're unsure of whether your AI use is appropriate, just ask before you submit. It's always better to seek guidance first than to discover later that your AI use was considered academic integrity and that it crossed that academic integrity boundary. So just remember, use AI wisely. Use it to learn, use it honestly, and use it for professional growth. If you're ever unsure of whether a specific use is acceptable or not, simply ask your faculty before submitting your work. Let AI support your success, but make sure you maintain integrity and make sure you maintain your scholarly voice.